Welcome back to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. How you doing? I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. At 13 years of age, Willa R. Finnegan Sport is writing, and she's published her first book. It is entitled Snow Cursed. Welcome, Willa. Now, I understand that you have read practically every children's classic ever written, and you've been telling stories for most of your life.
I've been writing since I was probably about 9, I would say. But when I was like 3 or 4 years old, I would tell my mom stories and she would write them down for me. But granted, those weren't like full books or anything. But yeah.
Okay. So tell me the story behind Snow.
So I've read lots of fantasy books over the years, some of them being fairy tale fantasy, but like Land of Stories, The School for Good and Evil, that type of thing really inspired me, and I just wanted to create something like of my own in that genre. So I got all of the characters in my book from like Grimm's fairy tales. Snow is based on like Snow White, and so Merlin is based on like King Arthur, and Snow's parents are as well, Arthur and Guinevere. And I tried to incorporate not only the original fairy tales from like the Grimm brothers and Hans Christian Andersen, that type of thing. I tried to incorporate like Oz and Wonderland and those other places as well.
So how'd you manage to weave that all together for your book?
So basically on the night before Snow's 15th birthday, she finds out that she is cursed, and she decides to go out into the world and try to find herself and find out why she was cursed. And she encounters a lot of other characters along the way that sort of help her out and try to help her find her place.
So give me some of the people that she runs into.
She runs into the Witches of Oz, and she runs into the Mad Hatter and the Cheshire Cat and all those type of characters in Wonderland. And she meets Captain Hook's daughter in Neverland and Peter Pan and all those sort of characters.
So she's going on a tour, it sounds like, through all of these various fairy tales.
Yeah, sometimes she's running away from things, sometimes she's just like going toward them without any real idea of what might happen. She's just trying to like live her best life because the curse that was placed upon her is called the death curse. And so she only has 1 year to live, and she's supposed to die on her 16th birthday. But her father tells her on the eve of her 15th birthday. So she realizes she only has a year to live. So she just tries to embark on this journey to find herself before she does die.
In your synopsis, it says that she has adventures and battles and difficulties.
Yeah. So while she's in Neverland, I believe this is chapter 23. Um, Marion Hook, which is Captain Hook's daughter, is obsessed with killing Peter Pan because Peter Pan killed her father. And so Peter Pan comes to her ship, and there is a battle between like Marion Hook and her pirates and Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. And eventually some other stuff happens during that battle that leads Snow into another place, but I won't get into that.
Okay. Now, you pose the question, will she remain pure as snow? So she's been a good girl her whole life. And now everything is just upside down.
Yeah, basically, like if you look at her from chapter 1 and compare her to her character in chapter 40, which is the last chapter, you will probably see a vast difference because she's learned like about the world, and she's learned that like people aren't always good. They can also be very evil too. So, yeah.
Now, this is a series, so where do you leave us at the end of Snow?
So the first book, Snow Curse, is a major cliffhanger, which then leads into the second book.
Did you already write the second book?
Yes, I have written the second book, and I've written maybe like a fourth of the third book.
Does this come easy for you?
Sometimes it does, but writer's block is a very real thing, and sometimes it's not very nice to me. But like the plot usually comes pretty easy, and sometimes I'll get like these epiphanies and I'll like have to write it down at that moment, but it just depends.
Do your English teachers love you?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, do you get a lot of encouragement from your teachers at school?
Yeah, I do a lot.
What made you decide to take the leap and publish a book so young?
I've always wanted to be a writer, and like that's just my like one main goal in life. And I just wanted to put something out there that incorporated like all sorts of parts of me and characters that I've loved for so long and other books that I've gotten inspiration from. And really, Snow's just as much a part of me as I am a part of her. And I just wanted to put that out into the world and see if people enjoyed my work as much as I did.
How are you telling people about this?
We have various different accounts. We have social media accounts: X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook.
Yeah, what are you doing on those accounts?
We're trying to get the word out and see if people will support me and purchase my book and my reviews and just sort of like start a snow revolution type of thing.
Well, do you have your friends in school backing you up?
Yeah, they're very supportive of me. They've all pretty much all of them have written reviews. Some of their parents won't let them, but pretty much all of them have written reviews for my book and have bought it and read it and uh just really are very supportive.
Are they going to let you do a book signing at the school?
It might come next year, next school year, but I've done one at the public library and I've done one at this Christmas event downtown, and I'm going to do one at the Barnes and Noble in Overland Park in Kansas City.
Are you setting all of these up yourself?
No, my mom usually does that, but I'll give her input and all of that because I have school and homework and writing and basically everything else that a seventh grader would. But
Well, you know what? You're very lucky to feel so strongly about something at this point in your life because you've got nowhere to go but up, I think.
yeah.
Willa R. Finnegan, Snow Cursed. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Yeah, of course.
Judy Marano teaches writing and public speaking to college students. And for a woman who's been writing her entire life, it took a particular moment in time for her to write and finally publish her book. So I've been thinking, Judy, what's the story?
I had a unfortunate bout of MRSA, and I was off my foot for 14 weeks, and it was super frustrating that I couldn't do anything. And I just was like, you know what? I've been saying when I have time, and God gave me time.
You looked at this as a sign.
I did, and I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to start. And then once I started, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So, I've always written. I mean, I remember my first story when I was in fourth grade. It was about a little elf, and I'm so proud of it. It was probably like 10 pages. But in fourth grade, that was the most I'd ever written. So I thought I was the bomb. But then when I started writing this and people were responding to this stuff, and I was like, oh. So what I ended up doing was in my first book, for my first book, I worked with a magazine called Best Self. So some of the articles were actually appeared in Best Self magazine, which is was a health wellness magazine. So they started it, and I was getting super positive feedback from the editor and from the people who read it, and that kind of spurred me on. Right then, I was like, oh, maybe I'm really good at this, and that's where I kept going.
All right. So what'd you come up with?
So my book is a short series of vignettes. about everyday occurrences, things people deal with every single day of their lives. And I wrote it for two reasons. Number one, to show how much we're alike. I think we always look at how we're different than people, but really, my book shows that we all go through the same stuff, right? It's what we do with the information that makes us different. So I kind of wrote this as a way to show readers that there's more than one way to look at a situation. So instead of looking at it and being like, oh, that sucked, I can look at it and be like, well, what can I learn from that?
Give me an example.
Okay, here's an example. So I work on a college campus, and a boy came by. He was dancing across campus with his headphones on. And I noticed that everybody was kind of giving him a wide berth and kind of like trying to stay away from him as if he had the plague, when all he was really doing was expressing himself. So I tell the story, and then I talk about what is it that drives us to be afraid of being different, right? Why don't we embrace our differences or our uniqueness? That's a better way to say it, right? Embrace our uniqueness instead of being afraid to show it because it doesn't fit in with everybody else. So that's kind of what it is. And my stories come from things that I've done, people I have talked to. I'm a really big proponent of talking to strangers because you learn the most interesting things by talking to strangers. And what can I learn from this moment? Why was this person put in my path? And what can I learn that's going to make me a better person at the end?
I think it's interesting. You say God gave you the time to do this.
Right.
Only to be convinced that these stories were something you had to share because they'd be a good lesson for all of us.
Exactly. And I feel like that's what, people who read it, they'll say stuff like, oh, you wrote that one about me? And I'll go, yeah, of course I did. Because it makes me laugh because it's not like anybody is saying, oh, wow, that's so unique. Never happened to me. I never get that. I get, oh, yeah, that happened to me last Tuesday. I just didn't look at it the way you did.
Do you have a standout story in this book? Like, what's the story that really hit you?
There's so many. A lot of the stories are actually from, my mom is probably the coolest woman I've ever met. She's 85 and taught me from a very young age about the word self-love. She didn't call it self-love, but she really pushed us to take care of self. The whole thing of put your own oxygen mask on first before you help a friend.
Mm-hmm.
She was all about that, even in the 50s and 60s and 70s when people weren't doing that.
Right.
So for me, I think my favorite stories are the ones that I've learned from her. I've got a story in there called Pillow Talk. And from a very young age, I remember coming home from school and all the pillows in the house would be on the porch, almost like the family was sitting around having a conversation, but they were just pillows. And she would tell me that she had to let them go, and they had to let go of their dreams and let go of what they were carrying to make them fresh. Because your pillow carries so much of your life stresses, your loves, your hates, your disappointments. And she said, if I don't put them outside, how are they going to let them go to be fresh for your next set of dreams?
Oh,
And I love that. So I described them as grandpa looked like the pillow sitting in the corner and grandma was a little more straight backed, but they were all there just letting go of what we really require our pillow to do so much for us. And we forget that we have to give it its own time to kind of let it go so it can come back fresh to us. It's one of my favorite stories in the book.
what about
Yeah.
letting go of stuff?
Oh, I do have a lot of I do, although I like the idea of keeping pieces, small pieces. I don't want you to hold on to everything that you have ever had. That's not how the world was intended to be. But holding on to the one special thing that reminds you of a person. I think that memories are more important than things, but I do feel like we should hold on to one or two things, and the rest realize that there are people out there who could use it so much more than you could, and you holding on to it for memory's sake, you already have the memory. You don't need the thing to have the memory, so give it up for somebody else.
Nice. You know what? As you're talking, I'm thinking this would be great stuff to read, like at an open mic night.
And I have done that many, many times. I'm a teacher, so I did it at school. I've done it at some bookstores. I did like a couple open mics at like local places. And the one that I love to read during open mics, it's called You Are What You Eat. And I talk about, how what you eat or how you approach or attack your plate really gives us a lot of insight into the kind of person that you are. So I say something along the lines of, who needs all those fancy personality tests? All you need to do is sit at a meal with someone to truly understand who they are.
Do you give examples?
Oh, sure. Like, for instance, my sister and I were eating at one of those fancy acai bowl places, and she immediately stirred everything together because she likes to mix and eat equal amounts of each part, where I drew a line down the middle, ate one whole side, and then ate the second whole side because I wanted to experience the joy twice.
All right. How about somebody who licks their fingers?
Oh, it could be that they want to suck the life out of the world, right? It's an interpretation thing, right? But I also talk about people who like eat clockwise and those people who don't let their food touch. So instead of using it as a place to judge somebody, use it as a place to open a conversation. I've noticed that you tend to eat your food very quickly. Does that come from growing up? And then you open up the door to having a conversation. Well, I came from 6 kids, and if I didn't eat my food fast, I'd run out of food. Like,
Right.
there's always a story behind it. And instead of using these little like windows to judge, it's better to use them as a way to just like open up lines of communication, and share.
And try to understand.
And understand instead of judging. I mean, I think that if I had to walk away with something out of my book, it's more that we can understand each other on a different level instead of just immediately passing judgment.
Wow, what a concept.
Right?
So, what kind of feedback are you getting? It sounds like you already have interest in your book.
Yes, there's definitely interest in my book. And, it's gotten past the point, I have to say, like, it's not just my friends and neighbors who are reading it. Like, I get total strangers will be like, oh, I read your book. And I'll be like, oh, yeah. So people, it resonates with people because it's, again, everyday situations. It's nothing you can't relate to. And because the chapters are each story is between 1,000 and 1,800 words, I try to keep them that way because it's also written for the non-reader, right? You don't need to be a lover of reading to read 1,000 words. And I say to people, it's not the kind of book you could read cover to cover. If you really wanted to, you could sit there and read it. And there is a thread of story that goes between the stories. But more importantly, it's the kind of book you put on your nightstand and you read one and then you go to bed thinking about it.
But to be clear, this is not chicken soup for the soul, right?
No, it is not chicken soup for the soul. There is no preaching. There is no, yes, there's thinking, but really there's laughter. There's tears. There's, oh shit, that happened to me last Tuesday. There's, oh, I wish I would have done that. There's more of that. It's not, I'm not trying to fix anybody. I'm not
Right.
trying to make anybody different. I'm just saying, here, be open to this.
All right, Judy Marano, author of So I've Been Thinking.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I so appreciate your time.
After more than 40 years, Mary Beth Kostewicz believes she had a calling to be a teacher, and for over 35 years, she taught 5th grade. Mary Beth, you say your students continue to inspire you, and not only are you still in touch with a lot of them, now they can read how they inspired you, beginning with this book. It's entitled Yikes!
I love teaching. Love it. So when I say kids, I mean my students. They loved Halloween. And I always felt bad when people said things against Halloween. And the kids just loved it. It was not a scary time, but a fun time. So it is about a young boy who loves Halloween and trick-or-treating. And as he goes around his neighborhood, he thinks he sees a witch. And he thinks the witch is so scary, and he is surprised when he discovers that this witch is his next door neighbor.
No.
But yes. But actually, I want the kids, because this is for a younger group of students, but the witch actually has a mask on, but you cannot tell from the illustrations except for these little things around her ear that holds the mask on. And it's their job to find out what the clue is. to know that real witches don't exist. So, but it's a great costume.
So the message is there really aren't witches in the world.
Yes, real witches.
All right. So this inspired you to keep writing children's books.
Yes, I just my students give me so many ideas, and the next book that I'm writing is about animals in the stable where Jesus is born, and they help Joseph and Mary, and they wish they could talk to get a better, so they could pray to get a better living environment, and that their prayers answered when they look at the star, and they keep Jesus warm while he's in his stable. So it's interesting. And I have my dog in the book, both books. I have a wiener dog, and I have her picture in both books. So
All right. So
yeah,
you're really going to keep on this track now.
I think so. I'd like to keep writing because I love to write.
What do you enjoy most about writing?
Well, I love to influence children, and I want them to write. And I tried to do that as I was teaching. And I always like to have some type of message in my book. So I guess maybe that's what I like. I love anything that has to do with like fairy tales and surprise endings, things like that.
Do you still live near where you used to teach?
About 20 minutes away, Fox Chapel Area School District.
Okay. Are you able to read your books to students there?
I do have some appointments. I have one at Barnes and Noble near my school, and I'm going to. I have it set up to read my Halloween book in September.
That's great. Good
Yeah,
timing.
yeah, I hope so.
Do your kids know, that are all grown up? Do they know that you're writing?
Oh, they know. Yeah, they're all calling me and buying the book, and I'm sending all the proceeds from the book to St. Jude's Research Hospital
Oh,
from
that's great.
those books. Yeah, and so I I have that in the message at my school where I taught, and my communications person at my school, I talked to her, and she's advertising it there.
Great.
And then I live in an HOA. And so my friend sent a message to all the people in my HOA. And hopefully it'll be in our local newspaper and the school newspaper. But I'm waiting for the opportune time.
So you have a homeowners association. That's nice that they're willing to do that for you.
Yeah, and I'm going to read in our clubhouse. I'm going to read to the kids in September, all the kids in my neighborhood.
You're doing all the right stuff.
Yeah.
You say that as a teacher, you really wanted to inspire your students to write. What would you say to people who are listening who really want to write but just don't know how to get started?
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to like to think of your ideas, and that could happen when you're cutting the grass or working in your garden. That things happen with animals, and I love animals, so I try to think of them as being able to talk and how they have a relationship with people, and it just helps me to come up with ideas. I probably have a mind and heart of a child. I hate to say that, but it makes me seem like a little bit funny. But um, just sit down and do it. Like organize your thoughts, put them down on paper first. Think of a beginning and an ending and an exciting beginning, and get into that mindset where you're a child, and what would a child like. So I think probably just organizing your thoughts and sitting down actually and taking the time.
Right.
Yeah. In the evenings, for example, sit on your porch and write some things down and then think about it. It takes a while. It took me about a year to get Yikes published.
How'd it feel when you were finished?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I told everybody, my family, my friends. And then when I actually got a copy of the book, it was so weird to see my name on there. So I guess, all of that is so exciting. And it's not that I'm trying to, benefit from this in the way of money. I just want to help those kids. I can't stand to watch those commercials about St. Jude's. So I would like to help.
It's a beautiful thing, Mary Beth Kostewicz.
Thank you so much.
All right. Mary Beth Kostewicz, author of Yikes. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Oh, thank you for calling me.
I caught up with Kofi Afari Dodi on vacation in Ghana. He talked about his work in financial management over the last 40 years and why he wrote Little Drops of Water, Foundations of Personal Financial Management for Wealth Creation. Obviously, you know your way around finances.
I've worked the whole spectrum of the financial services industry. State Street Bank in Boston, in custodial services, worked for Putnam Investments as their compliance officer. I worked for Mellon Bank, the Boston Company in asset management, and then I worked for Barclays Global Investors, which is in California, as a portfolio manager. And then after that, I stuck on, just went on out on my own as a personal financial advisor and portfolio manager for 20 years.
Clearly, you saw a need for this book.
Yes, I did. One of the things that I recognized, especially as a personal financial advisor, was over the 20 years, my clients brought their children. Their children became my clients as well. And the attrition rate in my practice was very, very low. On the average, my clients were with me for 15 years. And then when you add their children, we're talking forever, really. What I noticed was that a lot of the younger people didn't really understand the importance of savings and the importance of planning ahead. And most of my clients, would tell me, I don't want my children to be in a position in which I am in. Maybe I started a little too late. So that was something that kept recurring in my mind. And also I myself, I have children, so I started my children a little bit earlier. And one of the things I noticed today is that my children who are in their 30s, they have more money put away for retirement than a lot of people 20 years their seniors, which makes my children a little bit unusual. And of course, it wasn't easy trying to get them to save, but as they've gotten older and they're all established in their fields, they're always looking for additional ways to invest or to save, as we like to say it. So that I felt that the need was there for me to share that knowledge that you don't have to wait for Social Security. You don't have to wait till you are 60 before you start thinking about retirement, but rather you have to start as early as possible. As soon as you have a job and you have a way to save, you do it right away and plan. And then, of course, make sure that you put the monies in the right places for the long term. So the focus of all of this the needs here that I saw was that to teach young people to think long term and to think of the future, and not say it's too early, or probably help them answer the question, when do I start saving for retirement? So that's what I saw as a need to share that knowledge with young people. But the book is not just for young people. It's also for people who are still working. The need for those who are still working to understand that it's not too late. You just have to get in the field and, continue from where you left off. And then, of course, in the end, the people who are retired also, there's a need for them to understand the intricacies within our system in terms of distributions. So the primary focus is the young people. However, there's a little bit of everything for all of us. Being a retiree myself, there are a few things I've come to learn. In other words, the reality of things. And those are some of the things I share in the book.
Well, what was the biggest lesson you learned?
That you have to plan on how you take your distributions. For example, I had clients, one particular client that comes into mind, of course, confidentiality, so I'm not going to mention names, but the experience is that, the market goes up and down, and sometimes when things are so good, some of the clients will just spend more than they really should, but you don't want to do that because the market goes up and down. So if things are so great and you overspend, when things are bad, you fall behind, and that can cause problems. So rather, you have to think of retiring comfortably. So you have your Social Security, you have your retirement money that you've put away, and perhaps you have a non-qualified account, and you take from each part a little bit of it to meet your needs. Because at the end of the day, you don't need $1 million to have a comfortable retirement. What you need is have distributions that meet your needs, as long as you don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from, and that you're comfortable meaning you're able to travel if you have to, or if you want to, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that I, as a retiree, I also I don't want to say learn, but it's an affirmation of what I had learned through the time that I was a personal financial advisor.
Talking about today, right now, although what we talk about today could change tomorrow based on decisions being made in the White House that are reflected in the market, the trade war, not knowing day to day, watching the Dow go up and down and up and down. People are worried about their retirement accounts. They're worried, what's going to happen next.
It is a concern, and it should be a concern. But if you planned, you will not be worried, because if you planned on how your distributions should be, at least you put away 5 years of cash or cash equivalents, which means that does not really affect the market. For the next 5 years, you don't have to worry. The market can do whatever it wants. The current policies, the person who's putting it in place is going to be there for 4 years. Well, you have 5 years of cash, so you don't need to worry about it. The market can do whatever it wants to do. You don't have to sell, because if you sell, you will lose. It becomes what we call a realized loss. However, if you don't sell, yes, the losses are paper losses, and you will be able to take out the monies. I mean, we're talking right now, and guess where I am? I'm in Ghana. I have a home here. I can come here whenever I want. because I planned, and that's basically what you want to do. Again, you don't have to be a multi-billionaire to live comfortably. You have to plan, and you have to look at what your needs are. Just because you have the money doesn't mean you have to spend on unnecessary things. And that's one of the key things. Our young people spend, and they get up and go on vacations all over the place. 25 years old, do you need to spend $3,000-$4,000 to go on a vacation because it's your birthday? Buy a cake. Let your friends sing happy birthday for you.
How about all the kids, right? It used to be when you got married, right? The bride would go out with her bridesmaids, a couple weeks before she got married. Now they go to Mexico. They go to Florida. They go to Spain. It's like,
You go all over the place.
Yeah.
And then how do you start your marriage? You start your marriage in a deficit.
In debt.
That's basically what I'm talking about. The people who are right now 10 to 20 years away from, or I should say 10 to 15 years away from retirement, it's not too late. You have to, in this market where there's uncertainty, just like the young people, you should continue putting money in your 401ks.
You doing any seminars?
That is going to happen when I get back to the States.
Okay.
Already a lot of people in the community. Just recently, my daughter sent me a picture of a pastor who is promoting my book. Took it to his church and basically told them, all you young people, buy this book, because he's read it. And his analysis of it is that, hey, I wish I had this book when I was younger. So yes, there will be a time that I will go out and promote it. And yes, we are also looking at setting up a system whereby I could help people with asset allocations for a fee. So it's not a book that has this crystal ball and tells you invest in this company, invest in that company. No, the key thing is save.
All righty. Kofi, Afari, Dodi, Little Drops of Water, Foundations of Personal Financial Management for Wealth Creation. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks also for this interview.
After more than 40 years as a tech writer, Stephen Andersen has now turned his attention to the kind of writing he always did on the side. And now he's published the Turning Trilogy. Where did this all begin?
When I went into the military service, I started dabbling around with creative writing, and I just did little short stories. But I never stuck with it. And then, of course, in the busyness of my middle life, raising a family and everything, I would just have little. I was a drama director in our church for years, and so I would write these little skits and stuff. And so I've always dabbled in it, but not until I was retired and living here did I get serious about this book.
Well, I mean, you wrote a book, The Turning Trilogy, about a lawyer, David Turning. You discuss 3 cases, I believe, in the book.
Yes.
Where did this come from?
It didn't really dawn on me that I did sort of write this character, fashion him after my personality. And I didn't realize that until I was way into it. I didn't have these disastrous relationships like I portray him in the book. But in another sense, I have had issues with with my marriages and relationships. But on the other side, like him, I have resolve those relationships. For example, I get along famously now with my first wife and the mother of my kids. We get along famously.
Okay.
And so not until I was about halfway through the book did I realize, oh my gosh, I could be this guy.
Right. So when you talk about these cases, like you say, the first case in your book is an examination of the homeless society in America.
Yes.
As viewed from the beaches of Southern California, where you live, right?
Yes.
The case, revealing a side of homeless, often not thought about. Tell me what that is about.
I've had a few instances, throughout my life when I've been approached by homeless people, and I never had any friends who were homeless, but I tried to imagine what would be like. Like I grew up in Bakersfield, California, down there in the valley,
Okay.
and my first experience was a big group of homeless people right down on the river, Kern River in Bakersfield. And although many of them are strange and weird and broke and all that stuff, some of them were quite delightful too.
Yeah.
And so this is the side that you didn't hear much about. And so I thought, you know what, this would be cool. I'll just make this kind of format of my first case. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I know that this is the way it is. Many of them, there's a lot of mental illness and a lot of sickness. But on the other side, these poor people have a lot of issues. They're robbed daily, or they're beaten up, and you don't hear too much about that. You just normally hear about the atrocities on the other side.
Right.
And so I played into this, and I think it worked.
So you do 3 stories.
Yes.
What
yes.
ties all 3 stories together?
I think the common element is, David Turning, the lawyer, and his family. In the first story, his daughter is only like 7 or 8 years old. Without giving too much away on the book, David Turning is, in the first case, it's just down and out, and he lost his son to leukemia, and then in the process he lost his job, and then he lost his relationship. His daughter and wife became estranged. So it starts out at the lowest level. At the end of the first story, he works his way back into society and has a job and finds a little interesting niche, and he becomes a lawyer for the homeless. In the second story, it's like about 10 or 15 years later, and his daughter is a teenager, and or she meets this homeless girl who's actually living in a home for girls. So I create an event around that. So she's separated from her father, and at first it's a real mystery, because she didn't talk to everybody, and they thought she was like, just retarded or something.
Okay.
But it turns out she's very with it, and had a horrible secret she was keeping. And this becomes uncovered. And then I had a lot of fun with that one, because I got on a schooner, and I've never done this, but through the magic of Google, I was able to discover much about boating and all the places in the world. So I kind of made it a little running dialogue on that.
So this is a book about redemption then. I feel like Dave goes through a really difficult time, and he's able to kind of find redemption in helping others.
Yes.
Okay. And then the book ends with a third case, which is more personal for Dave. Right.
Yeah. So in the story, they discover that an individual that he put in jail way back in the first case had a vendetta against. So what happened is, he develops a scheme, this horrible person who's in jail, and what they want to do is they want to kidnap Lisa, who is the daughter, who is now in college. And so I had a lot of fun with that, and I made it a little more personal, and shows how all his friends rallied around him to help this. And the case ends in a very positive manner.
Okay. Are you going to keep writing?
You know what? I have a few ideas swimming around in my head. Idea of a book called Otis, Otis, and he's an outer space terrestrial, but he looks like us, and he wanders around the United States, and I use that format to talk about hate and anger, and how that's juxtaposed to positive relationships and love. And so it's just a big expose on on the human nature, and I try to weave it into a story. So I might do some more writing. I'm hoping this book is successful so that I can do that.
Are you out talking about your book?
I've already got all my friends and relatives
Right.
on board to buy the book, but I'm trying to get a hook. Like in Alcoholics Anonymous, they have a national posting. I would love to be able to get on the national posting, and maybe I could create a little more national interest in the book. So I'm trying to talk it up a little bit.
All right. Sounds like a plan. The Turning Trilogy by Stephen Andersen. Thanks so much.
Thank you, too. I enjoyed our conversation, chatting with you.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. We hope to see you back here every Saturday night at 8 o'clock, or listen to our podcast anytime on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.